Thank you for joining us on this important conversation celebrating Black History Month as it relates to line athletics. My name is Tim McMurray, Director of Athletics here at A&M Commerce. I'm really pleased. I want to thank Sherrod Williams and Coach Burton, who is leading this panel. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from our coaches and student athletes in this department as we talk about and celebrate Black History Month and its heritage. But more importantly, this conversation tonight is going to be a launching pad for our fourth strategic pillar, diversity, equity, and inclusion, led by our Associate Athletics Director for Operations, Sherrod Williams. What this conversation tonight will do, it talks about collaboration, it talks about relationships, it talks about hiring practices, and it talks about celebrating minority candidates in coaching searches and administrative searches in college athletics. One thing this summer that from a personal perspective that I thought was really polarizing for our department was it opened my eyes and made me realize that we take a lot of things for granted in college athletics. We have integrated locker rooms, we have integrated coaching staffs. You know, if there's racism prevalent in any locker room, it's going to last about 6 or 7 seconds. But that doesn't mean we don't need to be having important conversations relative to social justice, relative to diversity, equity, and inclusion, celebrating the opportunities we have to promote minority candidates into key positions, being aware of diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure people know that February is Black History Month, those type of things. So this conversation tonight is a launching pad, not just an initiative that's a check the box for us, and we look forward to celebrating the rest of Black History Month, and we appreciate you tuning in for this important conversation. Thank you. Go Lions.
All right, welcome. I'm Coach Burton, women's basketball coach here at A&M Commerce. Excited for tonight for this panel with you guys, and let's jump right into it. So I'm curious to know, tell me about an African-American coach who's inspired you, whether it's somebody that's coached you personally or somebody you've seen on TV, somebody you've heard about, but we'll go ladies first.
Okay, so I'll start it off. My high school basketball coach was someone that influenced me to be more positive, to be helpful. She was always the type of person that you could trust, you could talk to, you could always tell that she knew what she was talking about when it comes to sports or the outside world. She was my inspiration simply because she was a Black woman in the coaching field, and that's always something that I wanted to do. And you could tell that she cared about her players' individual success as well. So that's who inspired me.
Someone that inspired me when I started playing volleyball, it's hard to find a lot of Black coaches, but there was one man that trained me, I will say, and he really wanted me to be a great athlete. He pushed me through blood, sweat, and tears. He made sure I got everything correct before I moved on. So I would say he's somebody that really motivated me / inspired me being a volleyball player.
Awesome. Fellas.
I can start off. I don't have a specific individual who I've like looked up to, but I have seen just like in the past, in like recent times, is like, for example, Super Bowl Bucks. They got offensive coordinator Black, defensive coordinator Black, and assistant head coach Black. So like things like that, I can look up to, which can help me strive for what I want to do.
Yeah, personally, I would have to say a guy by the name of Gary Smith, who was my AAU basketball coach when I was growing up. He was the first African-American coach that I've had. You know, he just taught me the importance of teamwork, you know, working hard. His son was my best friend, and I learned so much from him.
That's awesome. I think it's important to give flowers while people are here, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it too. Mine is my brother, Brian Burton. So he's been a college coach for almost 20 years. He's been all over at every level, most recently at IUPUI, UTEP, Fresno State. But this past summer, he did a lot with social justice roundtables with college coaches across the country. And he's the reason why I started coaching, got me into the business. And so I'm gonna give my flowers to my brother, Brian. I don't think that or let's make sure when you talk for the first time, make sure you just say your name real quick so they know exactly who you are, what sport. But let's jump right into these topics. And so I wanna know from Ro and from Chance, just tell me why you wanna coach.
The reason I want to coach is really just the passion I have for the game. I just love football, and coaching is the next closest thing to being a player playing football. So I just have a passion for the game. I want to be able to give belief to others that look like me, and be able to make them feel like they can make it too once I make it, because I believe I will. And I just want to be great at what I do, and I feel like I can be great at coaching.
I want to become a coach because I love helping people. I want to be able to share my knowledge and help others to achieve their goals. And that's what my coaches did for me. So,
Okay, let me just tell you this. Y'all failed your first assignment. I told you when you talk, you got to intro yourself real quick. So Chance, real quick,
Right.
give me an intro. Tell me about where, what sport you do, say your name, where you're from.
Chance Cooper. I play football, I play wide receiver, and I'm a senior here, and I'm from Austin, Texas.
You better catch some passes this year too. All right, Ro.
Ronisha Simpson. I am from Tatum, Texas. I run track here at Commerce, and I run the 400 and the 4x4.
Chance told me he could beat you in a race.
He can try.
Okay. All right, I like that. I'm gonna go right back to you though, Chance. When we talked before, you told me some other reasons why you wanted to coach. Can you
You're
hit on those a little bit?
Yes. Well, I had looked up some stats and just like kind of looking, because coaching is what I want to do. So I'm like always kind of looking in on what's like trends, what's going on. I have seen a stat in 2011, there were 7 black head coaches in 2011. And recently people say we're creating change. But this year, as of currently, there's only 3. After the new hire that the Texans just had, there's only 3 black head coaches. So we're going downwards. So things like that kind of even makes me work harder to become a great coach, because I want to change that type of mentality in people. But I also seen a stat that 69% of the league are minority players. So why are majority of the players minorities, but then head coaches who have control, things like that, aren't?
We're gonna dive into that in a second. I want Ro, you had another reason too of why you wanted to coach, and you hit on that a little bit last time we talked. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the reason why I wanted to coach is because there's also not a lot of Black women in the field. And I wanted to know, like, why isn't there a lot of Black women in the head coach's role?
So I want to open this up for just discussion, thoughts. Of course, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm, the only Black head coach at this institution. One of the few in the Lone Star Conference, and one of the few in the state of Texas, especially when it comes to basketball, and a sport that is on many levels majority African American, but yet not led by a lot of African Americans. They're actually doing a special, I think, coming up in women's basketball on the SEC, because they've actually done a really good job of hiring not only African Americans, but African American women. And I think there's 6 African American head coaches in the SEC in women's basketball, but that's a far sight. That doesn't happen too often. And so I'm curious, Coach DB, Coach Ebony, can you share some of your thoughts on this?
This is something that's a big part in, what I do, especially in terms of the hiring process. I remember Coach Burton, you talked about hiring with a purpose last time we spoke. And that's something that really hit home with me as well, because Coop, you see my entire defensive staff, except for the GAs, are all, young Black African Americans, and I do that for a reason. When it first happened, with the original staff, when we first got here, it kind of just happened on accident, but then when one of our DB coaches left, it's still something that I wanted, because, just from a recruiting standpoint, I knew the type of kids that, we were recruiting, and so when you have like an all-Black staff walk to a kid's home, I just feel like there's something very powerful, and it's something that I see now, going forward, we got a big responsibility, because I try to give, African Americans, a platform to try to reach their ultimate goal. That's something that I try to take a lot of pride in as well. So it's something that I personally take a lot of pride in trying to give, young Black African Americans, a chance to reach their ultimate goal, whether it's to be a defensive coordinator or to be a head coach, just to kind of push them towards their goal.
Thanks, Coach DB. Ebony, do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, with Black women being specifically in the world of volleyball, you don't see a lot of Black volleyball coach. Volleyball is a very white-dominated sport, and so for me, I coach not only because I want to stay in the sport, something that I love, but I'm able to be a positive influence in student athletes' lives, especially young Black girls who you typically don't have that person to look up to whenever they're wanting to get into the sport, someone to relate to them and represent them. I hope it's something that more Black women that have played volleyball decided they want to do.
Yeah, and for me to touch on what you said, Chance, and then Ro, what you said, I think that there has to be intentionality when it comes to hiring, and there has to be opportunity. Like, you have to have that opportunity to get interviewed, for one. And there's so many places it starts, especially like when me being a coach on the women's side, two things that are important to me in the hiring process are to make sure I interview women, for one, but also make sure I try to interview minority women. It's almost impossible for minority women to get a chance to be head coaches if they're not assistant coaches first, if they don't have the opportunity to get to be an assistant coach. And so that's very important in the hiring process. And I think there has to be more representation too when it comes to the administration, the people that are doing the hiring. And that's at all levels. That's at the NFL and the front office. That's in colleges when it comes to athletic directors and associate athletic directors. And there has to be people that are in those conversations bringing up, minorities as candidates for those jobs. And so I think that's something that's important. That has to be at the institutional level. That has to be a focus for those institutions, and it's something we have to continue to improve. I'm very happy to be a part of this institution, who I really think we do a good job of trying to hire diverse people. And I'll say this too, with places that have a lot of success, there's not going to be as much turnover. And fortunately, we're at a university that's had a lot of success, and coaches have had an opportunity to have a lot of longevity here because of that. And so, there's not going to be a lot of change in some of those places, but as long as there are people that when the opportunity comes up to allow for that change, that we have a chance to get interviewed and minorities get a chance to get interviewed, that's very important for that. So good stuff from you, Chance, and good stuff from you, Ro. Appreciate the insight, the questions. Coach Carter, Ebony Carter, volleyball, we're going to move on to you. And so you're a grad assistant here. You're in year 2, is that correct?
Yes.
So year 2, still kind of fresh from your playing days. Can you talk a little bit about the transition from, being a player to being a coach, some of the things that were kind of a shock to you, some of the things that you had to get adjusted to? I think it's important for people that want to be a coach kind of know the real. So can you give us a little bit of the real?
Yeah, for sure. My transition from player to coach, it was interesting. It was a bit of a challenge at first because, I was still kind of in the player mindset, but the longer that I spent with people like Coach Case and people in my program, you really start to develop a different perspective on things. You get to see a lot of the whys behind the decisions that coaches make. And, I loved that transition, and to be able to understand it, it helps me I've been able to understand the importance of discipline and commitment and showing that to the players, and hopefully relating that to real life to players. And I think that's something that I had to kind of think about in that transition, how discipline and commitment correlates to life.
What's been your biggest challenge as far as being a coach?
Man, I guess my biggest challenge, I don't really want to call it a challenge. I've had a lot more responsibilities on the other side, like helping prepare our team to play other teams and making sure I'm doing everything right on my side, so they're getting better with scouting and things like that.
I'm gonna flip this to Chance and Ro real quick, just while we're on the topic. What do you think? What do you see you guys' biggest challenges being going from a player to a coach in your respective sports?
I would say my biggest challenge would be getting myself out there, trying to network, because sometimes I can be a little reserved and I can hold back a little bit. So I think networking and putting myself out there would be my biggest challenge.
I would almost say the same thing, just making like connections with really everybody in the industry and outside the industry, and just connecting with other people I wouldn't say would be the biggest challenge, but since I love the game so much, I don't think time would be a big challenge. I'd be willing to do that, but really just connecting with other people.
Coach Carter, I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you. I want to know this because I think you kind of, I'm gonna get on you a little bit. You kind of went surface level. I think there's more to it that you're not talking about. Give these student athletes, these potential coaches, some real like. I know you're a GA, right? I know I've been in them shoes before, or at least in my first year early on, the struggles of some of the not so glamorous stuff when it comes to the office hours, the
Oh yeah, I mean,
stuff.
I mean, that's a given. You know, I knew what I was signing up for. I knew that's something that I wanted to do. And it is a lot of office hours. It's a lot of stuff outside of, you know, the office and outside of your schoolwork. It's a commitment, but it's worth it. I will say one thing about my transitions, like as a player, you think you know a lot and that you know better than your coaches. In reality, you don't. Your coaches know what they're talking about. They're always going to do what they can to put the program first and hold the standard. So.
This is random and it just came to me. Is there a moment that comes to your head? It's like, man, now that I'm coaching, I know I used to do this all the time as a player. And I know that probably drove my coach nuts. Is there a moment that kind of hit you with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's the moments my coach would tell me something, I'm like, man, you know, keep doing what I'm doing. But like watching film and seeing, you know, everything play out. And it's like, he's right. He knows what he's talking about. It's just, you just have to humble yourself. It's a humbling experience. I'll say that.
I got you. I know that some of my GAs have talked about like the food, and as a player, you're always wanting certain foods and this and that. And then on the flip side, you're like, I'm not trying to do all these individual orders and customize all this. They need to be happy with what they get.
Honestly. It's okay. I understand the perspective. It's okay.
Well, you hit on one other thing. You talked about, you know, the importance of representation in volleyball and how, you know, that's a sport that maybe is not as African-American dominated. And so growing up, you know, you didn't have any African-American coaches. Is that right?
No, I've never played for a Black coach. I've had people, you know, train me here and there, but I've never had a Black coach for a season. And it's even weird because most of the time I'm the only Black person on the team, or it's two to three other Black people on the team. And it's weird because there's kind of a stereotype that kind of goes with, you know, being a Black girl on the team, but I don't know.
So with that being said, what do you see as some of the challenges as you move forward in your coaching career, just knowing that?
For me, I guess personally, is keeping those players motivated, you know, to want to, you know, get better no matter, you know, what their stereotype is or where they're told they need to train at, you know, just go for it all.
Yeah, well, I want to say this is Black History Month, and you know, every day we're making history and we're making Black history, and that's something that we're looking forward to you doing is being somebody that is going to break down barriers and be a trendsetter when it comes to volleyball and be a pioneer for more, you know, African-American coaches to follow behind you. So we're looking forward to your success and proud of everything you've already done so far. All right, Coach Adibi, I've been waiting on this for a while and to ask you, everybody to know your story, everybody to know who you are, but can you tell everybody, you know, a little bit about the process of you getting to where you are today? You're now the defensive coordinator here at A&M Commerce. You have a great story to tell. Can you just share that process with us?
Okay, so look, I'm from Hampton, Virginia. I played college football at Virginia Tech. Played linebacker, and I was blessed enough to get drafted to the NFL. And look, growing up, I always thought my dream was one to get drafted in the NFL and to play 10 plus years. And what I thought was I'm gonna play 10 plus years, retire, and never have to work another day in my life. You know what I mean? And it's wishful thinking, you know what I mean? But it didn't work out that way. That's just not a dream. That it just doesn't happen that often, And towards the end of my career, while I'm still trying to stay in shape, trying to figure out, okay, am I going to get a football? Am I going to get a call? Am I going to be able to play another year or not? I'm trying to figure out, okay, who am I at this point? Who am I? What am I going to do now? I got a kid, I got a wife. So what's going to happen now going forward? And I knew I still wanted to be involved in football because I love the game. It was my passion. It was something that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into. Like I said, towards the end of my career, one of the last teams that I played for was the Chicago Bears. And I ended up getting cut from that team, after the preseason, and by one of the executives named Chris Ballard. And that same guy, Chris Ballard, ended up getting another job later on that year or the following year by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I called him. He gave me my card when he cut me. I called him to try to get on as a player. He said he was interested in me being an NFL scout and not a player, And so I want to pause right there and, why was he interested in me being a scout and not a player? And it all just goes back to how I carried myself in the building. And so I took a lot of pride in, always trying to be prepared because I just never knew when I was going to get my chance. Always taking notes, always asking questions, always trying to not only figure out my position, but not only the Mike linebacker position, but maybe the Sam linebacker position or the Will linebacker position. And coaches talk in the building, and so when they see how I was preparing, they just he figured that, okay, you know what, if he's prepared like that as a player, if we do it works with us as a scout, he's going to do the same thing. So I guess he saw that within the building. He was very interested in me being a player. That's just the kind of person that he was. So ended up getting hired as a scouting intern, which was an excellent experience. I from a front office standpoint, I got a chance to sit in the room with, general managers. John Dorsey, who was the general manager with the Chiefs then, who most recently was the general manager with the Browns. He was in the room. Chris Ballard, who's now the general manager with the Colts, was in that room. Brett Veach, who's the general manager right now with the Chiefs, was in that room. Got a chance to learn from all these people. And then I worked with the offensive football staff as well, which is an amazing staff. Obviously, you had Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, who's the head coach for the Bears right now. You had Doug Peterson, who most recently was the ex-coach for the Eagles. David Cutley, who's the new head coach right now for the Houston Texans. He was on that staff. And somebody that I respect all these guys, but me and Eric Bieniemy, who at the time was just a running back coach, who's now with the OC with the Chiefs, and me and Eric Bieniemy, Coach Bieniemy, we really hit it off because he's somebody that I really looked up to, somebody I got a lot of respect for. He's one of those guys, when he walks into a room and he starts talking, everybody listens. And it's somebody I got a lot of respect for, and honestly, it pisses me off that he doesn't have a head coaching job right now.
That was one of the names that that should have got a job this year, we think, or that I felt should have got a job this year.
Without a doubt. And his time's gonna come though. And he's gonna have a chance to get a head coaching position, with a team that he's actually gonna have a chance to win with. But that's gonna go into a whole nother conversation, man. But and then after the Chiefs, I ended up getting hired with the Jets, and I ended up taking that job, because of the money. It was more money, and that was a learning experience for me. It was more money, but it's the Jets now. All right. And so what I learned was, the people that I worked with the Jets, it wasn't the best experience for me. Found myself and I learned quickly that being a road scout was not me. Just traveling all the time, being on the road, typing reports at 12 a.m. in the morning. I love watching ball. I got the chance to watch film. I learned how to evaluate talent at a high level, but I would rather be watching film at 12 a.m. trying to come up with a game plan than just typing reports. it was like I was in school again, to be honest with you. You know, but like I said, that whole experience, the big things that I learned was, one, to value the people that I work with more than any amount of money. That's why I'm really, really blessed where I am right now, who I'm working with, the people that I'm around. I'm always trying to learn from anybody that I'm around, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. Always trying to learn. Like I just said earlier, I got a chance to learn how to evaluate talent at a high level, learn from some of the best. Um, and because I was reading a book not too long ago, and one thing that was said in this book was, to be a very good head coach, to be a good head coach, you got to be able to evaluate talent. So that's one thing that I feel myself, I'm very blessed to have had a chance to sit in that room with those general managers and those executives, learning how they look at players, how they evaluate players, and now I'm bringing that over here. That's why, you know, I found we're always, especially on the defensive side, you know, we find ourselves really getting a lot of top tier talent because we evaluate at a high level, and I'm trying to teach my coaching staff how to do the exact same thing.
No question. Like, you got to evaluate at a high level, especially here. You know, I think at the D2 level, you got to be able to evaluate talent. You got to figure out, I mean, there's so many partial scholarships. You got to figure out how to put all the pieces together. So that's, you gave us a lot of information, but I want some more. So you touched on two things. Mm-hmm. You talked about, you knew the job that you didn't want, but you had that experience. You had that experience. And I think for me personally, some of the bad experiences I've gone through, I learned the most of it. And some of that is just knowing what you want. And sometimes you don't know exactly what you want until you experience certain things. And so can you hit on not necessarily what the bad experience was, but what you figured out when you left the Jets, what it was that you really wanted to do, and what you knew you didn't want to do. And then two, just the importance of that relationship building. You hit on so many different, just big names that, you know, are at high levels in the NFL. And I know that that's not only the relationships that you built. You know, obviously you have a good relationship with Coach Bailiff, and that's part of the reason why you're here. A big part of the reason why you're here is as a defensive coordinator. But can you speak on the importance of the relationships and how you carried yourself? Because I think that's something that these inspiring coaches or players that want to be coaches need to know.
Yeah. So after the Jets, you know, again, I found myself, you know, I knew I did not want to scout. So I ended up going off and getting on at Rice University. At Rice University, where I met Coach Bailiff. All right. And I would end up being in the same position. It was like I was volunteering there, actually, you know, and so I was in a position where I could spend a year just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Luckily, I was blessed to be in that position, you know, and I was basically, it was like an on-the-job interview, to be honest with you. And again, once again, just the way I carried myself in the building, you know, working with the defensive staff and working along with Coach Bailiff in that building, that throughout that year, you know, Coach Bailiff, he must have saw something in me that he liked, that made him want to hire me here, you know. And I just think it just goes back to just me being somebody that, even though I do play in the NFL, I did play in the NFL. I feel like I played at a high level. I was around a whole bunch of, high level coaches. You know, I don't walk into a room trying to be a know-it-all. I will listen to anybody I can. You know, I will take advice from anybody. I would take anything from anybody, no matter if it's the D-line coach, offensive coach, DB's coach. If you want to say something to me, have some input on maybe how to coach a linebacker position, you know, I mean, I'm going to listen. I'm going to always listen to open ears, but it's ultimately going to be up to me whether I want to input it or not into my coaching style or into my coaching philosophy. You know, I don't act like a know-it-all. You know, I feel like I'm somebody that's very easy to work with, and just somebody that like to have fun. I love to win. I love to compete. And that right there is the big thing that I figured out from scouting, that I did not want to scout, because as an NFL scout, you're like an independent contractor. You're completely detached from the actual football team. I can remember just being upstairs with the Chiefs, or when I was with the Jets, when I was finally in the building, you know, just being away from the football team, I wasn't even mad. And then when I would look at me, I was like, whoa, okay, this isn't right now. Because it made me feel like I wasn't even a part of the team. at that point, I knew I wanted to be a coach, because when I was sitting with the Chiefs, when I was working with the Chiefs, and I was working with the offensive staff, and I would give them input on, how to take advantage of this defense, what plays that they could possibly run, what players that they can take advantage of, in my advanced scouting reports, and then I would actually see them run those exact plays. It gave me goosebumps. So that experience right there, told me right then and there that I wanted to coach. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, and just coaching and teaching kids. And another thing is, like, when I'm teaching a kid, while I was at Rice, if I'm teaching a kid a specific technique or a defense, and that light bulb goes off and they finally get it, it's not a better feeling in the world. And that's my passion. And I found my passion, and I'm going to pour everything I have, into kids like Cooper, or into these defensive players. I'm gonna give them everything I got, day in and day out. And this is my passion. This is what I'm gonna do until I can't do it anymore.
Ultimately, you found your why. You found your why for why you want to coach, and I think that's so huge, because so many young people get into coaching because they feel like that's all they know. Like, well, I've done this all my life. It's just a natural transition to get into coaching, but they don't necessarily know why they want to coach. And I think when you find your why, it changes your path as a coach, and it changes how you approach the job every day. So I think that experience for you was huge. Okay, so we're going to go back, and now we're going to hit my student athletes, and even you, Coach Carter. I want to know, as we talk about the next chapters, I want to know where you guys see yourself coaching. At what level do you see yourself coaching, and why? And not just why. Tell me the path you think is the path for you to get there.
I would say that I would want to be a collegiate coach. And the path that I would want to take is starting out in high school, just to work my way up to become a collegiate coach.
Why college?
I feel like everybody's a little bit more mature. They've been doing it for a little bit longer. So it's just, you don't have to reteach things. It's human. It's what they know. I'm sorry.
I said you'd be surprised about that reteaching thing.
Yeah. Well, you're right, but college everybody's a little bit more older, so they'll understand where you're coming from. So I think.
I got you. Now, Coach Carter, you're in that transition period where you're about to move on and leave A&M Commerce potentially and go off somewhere else. What's the next steps look like for you?
For me, I see myself coaching high school volleyball in Texas. I've been coaching club for about 4 years, and it's something that I love. I love I'm kind of opposite with Ro. I like developing kids into being good players. And I think high school volleyball in Texas is almost king, kind of like football, but on the volleyball side. And that's where I see myself going once I leave Commerce. I really do love coaching kids here collegiately. It's more about, game plans, things like that, but I really like to scale back and go into like the training and development.
So somewhere along the line, you started the club and you found that passion for skill development. When did you figure out that was what you wanted to do?
I think last year when I coached club, I coached an 11s team, and we ended up going to Colorado and Denver, and they won the entire thing. And it was just after seeing them win, playing different teams in different states, them taking everything that we trained them and go out and compete, and they're doing things correctly, they're being good teammates. I just like to help players grow and watch them transition year to year and see where they get to once they get to being 18s.
Awesome. What about you, Chance?
Ultimately, I want to end up coaching the pros. I just want to, either how I get there, I want to start college. I probably plan on GAing after my playing career if I don't have an opportunity to play in the pros. But ultimately, I want to end up coaching pros, and I want to try to get there as fast as possible.
Well, a couple of things I want to touch on, but first I'll say this, Chance, you got somebody that was in the NFL right here on this call. So that's one person I contact, and Bailiff's connected. He knows everybody. And I'll say one of his, famous sayings, I hear him say it all the time. Chase responsibility. Don't chase the job. Don't chase money. The more, if you want to get somewhere fast, you got to make sure you're prepared, right? And so get as much responsibility as early as you can. And I remember in my early 20s, just living at the office, doing everything, wanting to get my hands on every single task that I could do, whether that was laundry, that was ordering gear, that was organizing gear, that was organizing trips, doing all the planning, the hotels, the food, the buses. I mean, I tried to learn every aspect of the program, and I lived at the office. That was part of it. Because the thing is, and we talked about it a little bit, there's already a lack of representation of Black head coaches in a lot of sports fields. And so when you do get that opportunity, you got to make sure you're prepared, because you don't want that to be your last opportunity. So make sure you're prepared for that job that you want. And Ro, I want to touch on the college thing. You said you wanted to be in college, but you talked about the path potentially being in high school. And we talked before, you said even middle school. I would say go straight to college, even if that means having a volunteer, intern, whatever, because there's going to be a pay disparity, starting out in college. And most times, and Coach DB even said, and I didn't know that until today, that Coach DB basically volunteered his first year at Rice, and look how that led to him being the defensive coordinator for the same coach he volunteered for. I volunteered as well for a year, and that opened doors for me to continue to climb this college career. But more times than not, if you start in high school and you're making a good check, you're not going to go from making a good check to not making any money at all. So go right, try to find you a GA if you can, or intern, but be a part of a college program. And the more you earn that trust and that rapport with college coaches and that network, that's how you network, is you get in the building with and be around college coaches all the time. That's how you're going to get your job. And so that's my advice to you on that. But I can't not ask you a similar question, Coach DB. I have a great coaching staff. I have an associate head coach was the small college coach of the year, or the D2 assistant coach of the year last year, after an incredible season that we had. And, he's going to be up for jobs. Coach Gene, who's been with me for 3 years, is going to be up for jobs. What does, of course, we don't want you to leave. This is not that. We want you here at A&M Commerce for as long as possible. But what does the next steps eventually look like for Coach DB? And how do you see yourself? Like, what are your ultimate goals, and how do you see yourself getting there?
Right now, my goal, I would say, is still to be a defensive coordinator at a Power 5 school. I love being involved with game planning, and calling plays is another passion that I've figured out that I really, really love doing. I would say, like, being a head coach is something that could possibly be down the line for me, but right now, I got a lot of passion for just still being involved in the game planning, being a little bit more involved with players, just from a day-to-day basis, being on the field and coaching the position instead of just being the head coach and having all that responsibility on managing the entire team. I still love just calling plays and game planning for a team right now. That's still my passion. So it could be, being a head coach could be something that's down the line, but I'm not too worried about the next move right now. And that's another thing that I learned from when I was at a junior college, at Garden City, Kansas, all the way in West Kansas, where I met Coach Walker at. I just learned very quickly, just put everything I have into all the kids where I am, as of right now. And that right there is just what I'm focused on right now. So, I'm having a blast just being here. I love the kids. Everything's fine to me. So I'm not in no rush to get out of here, to be honest with you.
It's good. It's good. So last thing I want to do, I want to open it up for questions on this panel. We were going to do a live event, but because of the crazy weather in Texas, we decided not to do a live event. We're recording this, but I want to give you guys an opportunity and Coach DB, you can ask anybody a question as well, but I want to open it up. You know, I think it's important, one, to network, two, to ask questions, especially if you're trying to get into coaching. There's so much. When I was trying to get into coaching, I thought I knew everything, and then I learned very quickly that I don't know anything at all. I still don't know anything. We got a game tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to win tomorrow. So we've talked a lot. Everybody's had a chance to kind of share their view from different sports and thoughts on different topics. But does anybody have a question for anybody else on this call?
I do have a question for old Coop. Chance. So when did you figure out that you wanted to coach?
I figured out, shoot, I just love the game really, and just, I mean, having fun just playing the game. I'm be on Madden just head to head, and I just have fun just breaking down people's defenses. I just love, like, I send them the defense because I want to play the offense so much, because I like just breaking down their defense, playing the game, and I just have a passion for football, and I just love the game. So the next thing closest to playing is coaching. So that's kind of where it led me to. And I just want to be at the highest level. So if I can't be at the highest level, if I don't get the opportunity to play, I'd rather do that as coach. So that's how I got that.
One nugget I want to give you is if you can, especially early, whether you're GA or early in your coaching career, if you have a chance to get on the defensive side to coach, I would highly suggest you do that.
Yes, sir.
Learn the defense. Right now, it's going to make you a hell of an offensive coach. Trust me. Okay.
I like it. Thank you, Coach DB. So, Chance, he asked you a question, so I'm going to popcorn to you. You got to ask somebody else a question.
I'm going to throw it back at Coach X. What was, like, I say, like, did you have any second thoughts of when you volunteered at Rice? Like, was it like, should I do this? Because you weren't making any money. So, like, what was your thoughts there? Or did you already knew what you wanted to do coaching-wise?
Well, no. I went in there, honestly, to just to volunteer for you, to give me something to do, to be honest with you. So I just wasn't just at home driving myself crazy, you know, and then that's when I figured out, okay, I actually have a passion for coaching. So it was not something that, okay, I went into thinking like, okay, you know what, I actually just want to coach. I was actually talking to one of my mentors, you know, who told me to, you know, just go do that for the year and just see how I liked it and then just kind of go from there, you know, and here I am now.
I got a question for Coach Burton too. So okay. you said when you first at Commerce, you coached the men's side, correct?
I did.
And then when you came back, you coaching women's right now. So like, what would you say is the biggest, like, what was the biggest difference between the two?
Man, so I probably had the same thought process as you coming out of college. Like, I just wanted to be a head coach as soon as possible. I told myself, I'm going to be a head coach by age 30. Like, that was it. And so I was blessed and fortunate. I was 21 years old when I was hired here. I was supposed to be the GA. One thing led to another. And I'm Sam Walker's full-time assistant coach at 21 years old. More than half the team was older than me. It was crazy. But spent 4 years here, moved on to Texas State, was at Texas State for 2 years. Unfortunately, my boss got let go. And when your boss gets let go at the college level, a lot of times they clean house. Which they did, and I ended up taking a high school head coaching job. And I got out of college. I thought I was going to be done with college, and I was good with that decision. And then I had one win. I won't repeat this again. I had one win, though, in my first year as a high school head coach. Most humbling experience, but I coached my tail off, and I learned how to coach. I learned how to be mentally tough and how to create a culture that wasn't just about wins, but it was about getting better. We had a young team. And ultimately, at the end of that year, the head women's job at A&M Commerce came open. And I knew that they had it down 4 or 5 years, but I knew they could win. When I was here on the men's side, we had a young lady get drafted to the WNBA from here, which is unheard of at the Division II level because of just only 12 WNBA teams. And so it's just, the numbers aren't really there. And me and Coach Walker for like 2 years had joked about me coming back and being the head women's coach. And then the job opened up. I was at the conference tournament because I lived in Allen, and that's where the conference tournament was. And I found out at an event before the game that the job was open. And something in me was like, why not? Why not go back to college? Why not go back to commerce and do it? And honestly, I got into coaching. I coach for the relationships. I coach for, it's my ministry. It's my passion to help young people be great. And I just happen to do it through basketball. I love the game of basketball. And so to me, it didn't matter whether I was coaching college men, high school boys, college women. I wanted to coach basketball, and I want to do it around people that I liked being around. And I enjoyed my time in commerce. I was going to be back with my mentor in Sam Walker, and I had a chance to recruit again. I didn't get to recruit in high school. We had one win, and I was back in my element, being able to get on the road and recruit players and really build the culture the way we wanted to build it and hire my staff the way I wanted to hire it. I didn't have to worry about doing in-school suspension because that was my job for 4 periods of the day in high school. And, honestly, I will not go back to the men's side unless at some point long down the line, my son's like, Dad, come coach. But that's years away. I enjoy coaching women. I enjoy the relationships I have with all the women I've coached here. And I enjoy getting to see them go off and do the things they're doing now. I have so many players that former players that are now coaching and being helped them to live, have a chance to live out their dreams. And then other women that are in the medical field and climbing and doing different things. I really enjoy the women's side, and honestly, it's less headache. So it's a benefit being on the women's side. So I guess I got asked a question. I'm going to ask both the ladies a quick question. Ro, is there a certain event that you are passionate about as far as coaching?
Not really, as long as it's in the track part, because I can do long distance, I can do the short sprints, long sprints, and it can even go down to long jump. So I'm pretty much versatile. It doesn't really matter. I'll research to figure it out for either events in track. So I just want to coach.
Hey, learn it all. That would be my advice. You learn it all, because you never know what a school is going to need as far as a coach, whether it's throws or jumps or whatever. So learn as much as you can, and you can do that right now. That's something that study it right now. Don't wait till you're about to be a coach to try to learn what you need to learn. Like, start learning that stuff now, and it'll make you a better athlete right now as well. Coach Carter.
Sir.
Give me one thing you got out of tonight.
One thing I got out tonight. Yeah. I guess for me is just like what you kind of said about your hiring. Just have intention with what you're doing. Don't coach just because. And I like how you say, coaching is kind of your ministry, and I think that's a really good explanation. But there's a reason why you want to do it, or reason why I want to do it. I want to help out younger kids get better and, relate that discipline to life, help them at a young age, see the importance of that. So I think that's my takeaway.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for taking time out to be a part of tonight. I thought tonight was awesome. Incredible to hear all the different versions of your thought processes about behind being a coach, or why you want to coach, or the path to being a coach. I got so much insight from you, Coach Adibi. I look forward to seeing Ro and Chance and Coach Carter, what you guys do in the future. We need you. We need more people like you. You guys are Black history, as we're in Black History Month. You guys are making history here at A&M Commerce as student athletes. And Coach Carter, what you've done the last 2 years here with the volleyball program, 2 of the best years in school history. You're doing it. I mean, Coach Adibi, what football has been doing, y'all have carried on the tradition that was from the previous staff, and y'all are continuing to take it to new heights, and so proud of what you guys are all doing here. And I'll say this to the young ones that are on this call about to or wanting to coach, and to anybody that may see this, is one, get a mentor, man. It doesn't matter what sport. It doesn't have to be your sport, but find people that coach at a high level and figure out what they do well, because there's so much that translates from sport to sport, especially when it comes to the behind the scenes and just running the program. Those things are important. So find a mentor, find your why. Like, if you're coaching because of money, or you're coaching because you're trying to get on TV, or it's just about as high as you can climb, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons, man. Because if that's your why, you're probably not going to coach for too long. But it's encouraging to hear that some of you guys want to do it because of the passion. I love the play call, and I love the details. I love the preparation. Coach DB, that when you talked about the scouting and how that translates, like that to me too. Like when I watch something on film, and then we put together a game plan, and it works in the game, it actually feels like I know what I'm doing sometimes, when I know that's not the case. I just happen to have recruited some really good players that do a great job for us. And then I really think that as early on, learn as much as possible. Learn, and be a lifelong learner. In this industry, you have to keep learning. You have to keep adapting. Everybody wins, and everybody wins differently. So there's not one formula that works, but learn and do it for the right reasons. Do it for the student athletes. I know as right now you're student athletes, except for you, Coach Carter, but Chance and Ro, you guys are student athletes. Take notes. One of the things that helped me be a good coach is I remembered all the things I didn't like when I was a player. And I was like, I'm not going to do that when I start coaching. But I also took all the things I loved, and I took all the things that helped us to win. And I said, these are things that are going to translate. I want to do these when I'm a coach. And if you're doing those things right now, it's going to help prepare you to be the coach that you want to be. But it's never too early to start networking. It's never too early to start working towards your dream, your dream of being a coach, and whether that's a defensive coordinator or head coach or whatever type of coach you want to be, it's never too early to do that. So again, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys being on here today. If there's anything we can do to help you in the future, please let us know. But thank you guys again. Really appreciate it.